The button has been pushed. Hello and welcome. What's going on, guys? Coming at you live from the dungeon. And guess who's back? Back again. Baldy's back. Shay! Buddy, I feel like I haven't seen you in like a month, dude. Where have you been?
Actually, I've done the math, and I think it's been a little bit over a month because I've spent so much time on the East Coast doing some family stuff and family reunions and helping out with some stuff. And then I know at one point we were kicking around the idea of just having me on the couch as an iPad, but that didn't work out. Although maybe in the future that could do something we do.
Well, and what's crazy is I left for a trip the day after our guest was here in Denver. So we have a very special guest for you guys this week. You only need one word and you know. Bronwyn, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Yeah, so it's crazy. When you were in Denver, we were promoting the show, and you had a bunch of awesome sit-ins, and then my lovely daughter cashed in on her golden birthday wish, and I was off to Disney World at 5:30 in the morning the day after your show, so I was like, there is no way I'm going to make it, but I heard that it was absolutely amazing. How was that Colorado show for you?
Oh man, it was so fun. Yeah, thanks for spreading the word. It was a blast, man. They packed the house there, and it was really cool to have Andy, playing dobro with us, and Sam Walker came up, and yeah, it was a great time.
It's super cool, and I'm so glad that we were able to coordinate this, because it's funny, last year, almost a year to the date, was the first time that we got to interview you while you were about to perform the last show with the Golden Highway at Rocky Grass.
Yes, wow, it's only been a year.
Is that not insane? I know, and that's what's crazy.
It's a construct, man.
For sure, and that's what's crazy is like I think about what Shay and I have gone through at the podcast, but then I was looking back on all the shows that you've done and all the traveling that you've done, and I remember just having that conversation of like, hey, you're gonna spread your wings, you're gonna have your own band, and now you're gonna do this, and you were so excited and just like filled with this energy, and you have harnessed that bad boy. What has it been like for the last year, like doing it on your own?
It has been so cool. Like, it's been so fun. And so it was funny. So last year, it was kind of a transition year, and my band would be kind of changing every weekend a little bit. Like, I didn't have a steady lineup necessarily. And, and that was fine. It was nice to get to play with a bunch of different people and, like, figure out who I vibed with and stuff. But this year, starting in January, it's been a steady lineup. I've got a band, and that has been amazing because, like, it feels like we can move the music forward, right? You can, like, things can change night to night. You can remember what happened last week and then, like, pull in new songs into the set, and it's been really cool.
Well, you said that's been a consistent lineup since what, January?
January, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because I remember when I was working that bluegrass festival you did up in Longmont, and and that would have been that set lineup, and from what I'd seen previously, you can tell that having the set lineup kind of changes just the vibe and how things move forward and how you play off of each other.
Totally, yeah. It's really cool.
Well, and let's also talk about the band, because golly, did you put together an insane lineup? Like, not only like you yourself are a 2-time fiddle player of the year, right? So like you're a phenomenal instrumentalist on your own, and then you put together a band. So let's give them a little bit of their kudos. Who is it that you have had since January sitting next to you and riding this crazy ride?
Well, yeah, I'm still like pinching myself that I get to play music with these guys every night. But Tristan Scroggins has been on mandolin, and we've known each other for years. I've been friends with him for so long, and I feel like the common thread between all of these guys is how great they are at playing traditional bluegrass and everything else. Mm-hmm. So Tristan's just like a monster mandolin picker, and just can stretch out and do crazy stuff. Like,
he is a Jedi. I remember at Winter Wondergrass, I don't remember which show it was, but he was masked, and it was so awesome because you're like, dude, this guy is dangerous. and then I realized who it was because I was emceeing the festival, and I saw him backstage, and I was like, Oh, holy shit, that's Tristan. And I didn't even realize that that's who you had been playing with, because like you said, you had gone through him a couple different iterations.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's awesome.
But you also have Frank Evans on banjo.
I know Frank Evans, and he's another person who can just like drive it as hard as anybody, but then can play all this like beautiful like jazz lines and single string stuff. Like he can take it as far as you'd ever want to take it. And he's an amazing singer. We've been, he just put out a record this year, and we've been doing some songs off of that record on the live show. And yeah, that's been a great. Grant Dresnok is like this brand new guitar player to the scene. He just
yeah, but he doesn't play like he's brand new, because that boy can pick.
No, he's incredible. Like he's like going to be the next, the next guitar superstar here. So he's incredible. And Larry Cook is an amazing, Grammy-winning bass player who he used to play with Tony Trischka and Michael Davis back when he lived in New York. And so it's like, and he's a great jazz player as well. So it's like all these guys are bringing like, a lot of deep bluegrass knowledge and a lot of knowledge from other genres and stuff, which is really cool.
Well, and that's what's so beautiful, is because like you guys have that deep trad grass roots, right? But then you can also stretch it out. And that's where it can become really fun. And then the repertoire of like covers that you guys are able to do. But the reason that we're having you on this week, Bronwyn, is because you have it's your third album, but the first one is this band, correct? That's coming out on August 14th?
Yes, this is my first. Well, you know what? So most of this band played on some of the record, but I would not call this record a band record because I was making it throughout last year, and I didn't even really know Grant when I was making most of the record. So
oh, wow, okay.
I had the rest of them. I had Larry, Tristan, and Frank on a couple tracks. But my band was still changing. Like I didn't know who was going to end up in it for sure. And so what I didn't want to do was make like a record of like half the band, but half not the band, or like sort of a band record, but not really. And so I kind of like, I had them on some of it, but I was like, I'm just going to like call in just like lots of different people. Like I'm going to mix it in with studio musicians. Brian Sutton played a lot of guitar, Dominic Leslie played some mandolin on it. Like I just kind of brought in whoever I wanted. And I would love to do a band record someday. Now that the band is kind of set, I'm like,
Yeah, but now this is Bronwyn's album, right? And that makes a lot more sense, because for me, the first time that I listened through it, there's so much emotion in it, right? And it seems so personal. And some of them are from a first person perspective, but then others you are telling a story tale. And what I love is like you go from like the burnout, right? Talking about being on the road and what you're dealing with, to like your murder ballad, right? And then talking to like a psychedelic trip, right? Like there's this span of like all these different things. So when you were putting this together, because writing wasn't something that was strong in your repertoire originally, right?
Yeah, that was kind of something that I was like, I was like, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to be a solo artist here, like I do need my own music. Like, that's just like a thing, and with the last record I put out, it was all other people's songs, and it was really hard to find songs I connected with that but I was just like, well, I don't write songs, and, I just like, I can't do it. But I sort of started getting more confident as a singer, and I was like, I'm starting to realize the types of songs I think I would like to sing, and having a better understanding of my voice and what might work for me. So I have been kind of like collecting little lines and stuff for the last couple years. Like I've got a whole list of things on my phone and my notes app. So I had a lot to draw from this past year when I kind of started really deciding to write.
Do you remember which one was the first one that you completed that like really kind of juiced you up?
Yeah, the first song I wrote for the album was Virginia Gal, and I wrote that one just by myself. And I was inspired by like Molly has that song, what is it, Boston Girl or Goodbye Girl? Like and like that song, She'll Change. There's like kind of about herself, but like not really. It's just sort of like about an adventuring woman or whatever. So I was like, like I'd like to write my own spin on something like that.
Well, and I love how you introduce that song, because it almost starts off as like an instrumental.
Yeah, I love those. It's kind of like got that old timey thing where the melody is it's just like all one part. It doesn't have a chorus. It's just like, it's just a thing you play or sing.
So then for you, like, you knew that you wanted to do this, you had these pieces together. What was your process as like an artist to say like, okay, now I have to write, right? Like, did you like force yourself? Did you use like mentorship from someone? Were you able to pull different pieces from some of your experiences? How did you start to put this together?
A big part of it was co-writing. Like I co-wrote most of these songs on the album. I think I wrote only 2 fully by myself. And so that was like, I felt like that was like my crash course in songwriting over the last year. It was just like, kind of just like, it took a lot of gumption for me to call up some of these people and like, be like, I'd like to write a song with you. I don't really write songs, but I'd like to try, and they were very kind to me. And I felt like I learned so much. Like I wrote so many more songs than made it onto the album. I just picked my favorites, but I'd bring ideas, they'd bring ideas, and I just learned so much about the process and like how they would approach something. It would be so different than what I would think I would do or something.
Does it change your stress levels, having, more of the stuff that you've written, come up with on your own, having that be out there on the album versus previously? Or is it all pretty much the same level because you're just putting yourself out there no matter what you're doing, regardless of who wrote it?
Yeah, no, I think it actually I feel like I can be more genuine on stage. I feel like I can actually deliver it more authentically. So I would say maybe
you're more comfortable that way?
Yeah, I think so, totally, because I feel like I can share more of myself, and I think hopefully that's what makes for a good live show is, people feeling some kind of vulnerability and feeling like they got to know a piece of the artist.
Absolutely.
Well, so let's talk about that, right? Because like early on in the album, you have a song that's titled "The Ride," right? And it's kind of talking about it's brutally honest about touring, right? So what was some of that background, and then like what was the line? It's like I got all I ever wanted, but I don't feel right. I think is that
yeah, totally.
Yeah, like that was like that is some powerful stuff, right? Because like I can see my interpretation, and that's why I said it feels so personal with you with some of this stuff. So like, where were you when you were writing that, and what were you like? How were you feeling, and how have you like fought through some of that?
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like that that feeling of burnout is something that like hopefully can resonate with people in so many different fields, right? Like because like nothing comes without a sacrifice, right? Like if you have any level of success in anything, that means you spent a lot of time doing that, and that means you haven't spent as much time doing something else, right? So like, yeah, and for me, I mean, some of the lines that started that song came up while I was on tour with Golden Highway. There was a certain tour, and like that band, I loved it. Like I've literally, I think it says in the song, like I've had some of the best times of my life in that band, and but like, anything you love, if you're doing it nonstop all the time, there's gonna come a moment where you're like I thought this was gonna, this was supposed to be awesome, and suddenly I'm having this feeling of like, just like not just being kind of miserable, and just like for a day or whatever, we would have this joke that touring is either this emoji, like the smiling in the hands, or it's the skull, the death skull emoji. So it's like your days are either like that. It's like either like the best day you've ever had, or it's like a terrible day for whatever reason, so.
But it's not for whatever reason. Like I think that all of us as fans, we only see like individually like the one date that you're in our neighborhood, right? And we don't necessarily realize like, oh my God, they played 220 shows out of 365 days, right? And totally. some of us that have like toured or like hit legs of tour, like Shay and I always joke like after only like a 3-day run, we're like, oh shit, man, like how do we do this? And meanwhile, you guys are doing like 16 shows in 20 days, right? And like that's got to be debilitating. And it was really powerful to hear some of that vulnerability in this song. And what I wanted to ask, because like you're touring with Molly Tuttle and the Golden Highway, right? And now you've ventured off on your own, and so you go from like a bus to a van, right? And so like how has touring been for you since you've written that song, and now with this transition of like it's a whole lot different from one to the other.
Totally. And there's like, on one level, it is so much harder now, right? Like nobody is carrying my bags. Nobody's driving. I do all the driving with the van because I'm just like, it's it's my job. It's not their job. Their job is to play music. Somebody, you know, and like, yeah, and I'm like literally the tour manager. We don't have anybody on the road with us. We don't have a tour manager or a sound person or anything. So, you know, on paper, it is like a lot harder now, but there is also this sense that this feeling that I get of like, sort of deeper purpose when I'm leading the band and you know, and it's my name on the bill, and I'm trying to build something for myself, and I feel like that kind of fires me up in a way that like can keep me going, you know, and that just like kind of excites me in a really fundamental way. So, you know, everything's a trade-off, right? There's good and bad and everything, and like, yeah. So I'm sure I still have some of those moments, you know, like yesterday we had like such a long travel day, but it's all right, you know, but we had a great show the day before, so.
Well, and Shay talked so highly about his interactions with you at Bluegrass, right?
Oh.
Yeah, you're. I mean, you come off as very genuine, and you're very nice. And I would not be able to maintain that outlook with the kind of travel schedule you have. Kodi will tell you, after like 2 days of running around, I'm horrible to be around.
but that's where it's like you now like are feeding this drive, right? Because now you're like bought in, like you said, it's your name on the bill. This is now what you need to do. And so like, did you feel pressure being like, I need to write? And then what's funny is like all of these people hearing like, oh, okay, well, she wasn't writing songs and she only had these little clips. You're putting out a 13-song album. So it's not like you only like put together a few things, like you really, and what I'm really excited to see is how everybody receives this album, because I think it's phenomenal front to back. I think that there are some really strong hooks. Like I know you've already teased like, Hey Johnny Ray, like it's just catchy, right? And you have a handful of songs that are really catchy like that. Was there like a lot of pressure that you were putting on yourself to like create your own music or to find the right person to co-write with?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I just kind of had this feeling of like I want to write the whole album, you know. I want to have a hand in everything on it, you know, and like, and I was just trying to literally all last year. I felt like my antenna was like always up for creativity. Like everything I was reading, watching, I was like trying to be like, could this be a song? Could this be a song? Like, is this a line? Like, it was just always out in my mind. So like, and it is cool. Like I felt like when I was in that mode, I did like just stuff would hit me all the time, you know, and it's like it's literally there for the taking if you're paying attention, you know, and then if you're in a different mode, you're not going to register it.
Do you have an example of something that kind of planted a seed that turned into something?
Yeah, like that song Gallatin Road, that came from like,
oh God, yes. I was going to ask about that. I've never heard a song talk about Delta 8 before, so I had to awesome. I was definitely going to ask a question about that for sure.
That's all we have in Tennessee. Hell here. That's as good as it gets.
Yes.
But you can get a lot of that. Yeah.
So Gallatin Road, where is this? Like, I'm sure the people that are from there will like know, but like help us know, because immediately what I thought about was the equivalent to Gallatin Road to where I grew up, right?
Yep. Because I'm sure I feel like every city has one, right? Or every town has one of a certain size. Yeah, so it's the kind of like the main artery that's not the highway that goes north to south from Nashville. So it starts all the way like in East Nashville and goes all the way up through Madison and then up to Hendersonville. But it's like runs parallel to the highway. So it's just like, you know, like, so it was kind of I was talking, but it does have an insane vibe. Like, people are horrible drivers there. Like one time I saw 3 motorcycles doing wheelies side by side on Gallatin Road all together.
Shay, I feel like this is our Colfax Avenue.
Okay. About right. Yep, that's how it's basically Colfax or the equivalent in my hometown. I'm from West Virginia originally, and there's a road called Route 60 that's where it's the exact same vibe. Like that's where you're going to see guys tearing out there on their dirt bikes and doing wheelies and you did side by sides that shouldn't be out there and all that kinds of stuff.
Totally. Yeah, so I was like talking to some friends that were from out of town. They had visited and they were like staying on an Airbnb near Gallatin Road. And somebody said like anything goes at like on Gallatin Road, and then like that stuck with me, and I was like, wait, that's a line. And then I was driving home from that and just like thinking about, somebody I know that like does play the guitar occasionally. Well, he has a car guitar, and I was like, I bet he would drive on, I bet that has happened on Gallatin Road, and just kind of, it was like the easiest song to write, because then me and Pat McLaughlin got together and we were just like listing things on Gallatin Road, and it just kind of flowed.
It is so fun, and I can only imagine like the music video that you could make to that song, right?
Right.
To like have these characters play, and that's where it's so much fun, because there's so much depth to your albums, right? I feel like the first 5 or 6 have a really good beat, and then you start to slow things down, and your murder ballad is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I remember hearing you sing it at Winter Wondergrass, and I was like, because you said, oh, we're going to play a murder ballad, and I was like, wait, holy shit, I don't know this. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's an original. I was like, God damn, Bronwyn, like that was awesome. So it's called The Wishing Well, right?
Yeah. I that was so fun. That was like one of the 2 that I wrote just by myself for the record, and it was kind of like.
So Virginia Gal and Wishing Well were both just you solo. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Like we've all heard like Little Sadie and like all these kind of classic murder ballads that came from like the Celtic tradition, and I was trying to write one in that vein, but like it was kind of fun to put myself in, try to flip the genders, obviously, because there's enough of the other kind, and then and I was trying to be like, okay, like I don't want to just like have this random murder kind of for no reason. Like some of them are just like I shot her down and whatever. It's like, okay, but like it's like, okay, like what would it really take to like push a dude down the well? Like what would make you want to do that? It's like, okay, like he has to leave you. Okay, like that's not great, but like you wouldn't push him down a well, but like if he's like a creep to his own daughter, like, okay, maybe we can push him down a well for that.
Somebody better warn Jason, okay?
Jason, any danger.
Okay, so I can't believe that you just wrote that on your own. How long did it take for you to write that? Because it's such a powerful piece, and I feel like murder ballads really need to like be built up, right? And you do such a great job of doing that. Was it kind of like you just ran through it, or did you have to like come back and piece some things together, or how was it? Because I think for people, songwriting is something that's really overlooked, right? Because we see it once it's done. And for me and Shay, we really like to try to crack the egg of like, what's this process like, right? And like sometimes people are like, oh yeah, I wrote it in 15 minutes, and other people are like, man, this took me 7 years to like figure out.
Right.
What was it like for The Wishing Well?
I was reading this book. I really love this author named Alex Harrow, and she lives in Kentucky, and she writes kind of this like, it's like Southern Gothic kind of stuff. So I was reading this book by her about this like creepy house in Kentucky that was on a river, and whenever like there was like evil like whenever evil stuff happened, like mist would come off the river. So like that was just like in my head, and so I wrote it kind of over a weekend here in February, over Spigma weekend. I remember there's like that that Spigma bluegrass conference that happens, and I was writing the song, and I kept meaning to go to the conference at night and like go jam, but then I'd be like deep in this song, and I'd be like, no, I gotta finish the song. Like, yes. So I think it took like at least a weekend to kind of like fully flesh it out. But the other funny thing about that,
go ahead,
is like I wrote it, and the melody I had, I didn't realize, but it was like so similar to, it was like another song, and I didn't realize that. So then I played it a couple times live with that melody. Like it might have even had a different melody when I played it at Winter Wondergrass, because I was like trying out some of these songs just to see how they landed. Mm-hmm. But then somebody like yelled out, like, I can't remember what the song was, but I was like, oh no, like I was so deep in the song that I just like was like, oh, it can't, like, it's not like any other song, it's my song. And so then I had to like change the melody, because I was like, well, we can't leave it like this, but I was able to keep the words and just like rework the melody.
That's funny. But what I love to hear, Bronwyn, was that you used reading and your visualization of having to like create the story from words in your mind to then like using that imagery that was created from one and then use that into creating something else, right? Like, I think it's so important for artists to like remember, and especially in a digital age, right, where we're like, everything's like super in your face and it's so aggressive and it's instant gratification, and like slowing things down and like really focusing like you did, it kind of becomes dangerous, right? And that's cool to see. Like, you're like, nope, I'm in the zone, I just got to get this going. I want to talk about a fun one that I really liked, which was Blink of an Eye. I feel like that captures like Shay and I, we go to a bunch of festivals. That's how we met, was at a music festival, and then now he just can't get rid of me. But I think that it's
the doctors have tried.
I think that it's really fun because, like, were you pulling these from like specific moments that you've had, or was it just like thoughts about it, or what was it with that song? Because I feel like it's just really fun and it feels personal.
Cool. Okay, so that one I was imagining Winter Wondergrass.
Oh wow!
But I wasn't thinking about a specific moment at Winter Wondergrass. Like, I think there's been other moments like throughout the years where you like make eye contact with somebody on stage or like in the audience, and then you're like, yeah, like, are they like, in my mind I'm like, are they looking at me? Like, they keep looking at me. Like, are they looking at me because I'm on stage? Or are they looking at me like because they think I'm cute? Or like, wait, what's going on here? You know? So it's kind of just like sort of that thinking.
That's funny. Well, I hope you know, for me, I will give you stank face all the time. Everybody's like, oh my God. And it's like, I just can't feel it. Shay will scream constantly. You will know how we feel. That's for sure. But it's pretty cool because it's just like a combination of things, right? And that's where it's really fun because, like I said, like, there's so many different waves of emotions when you created this album. So were you really cognizant of that when you were putting together the tracks? And I also feel like the flow of the songs through the album, right? Like I said, I feel like you start with this fast pace and then we start to slow down. And I feel like there's some more personal songs and then some slower melodies in there. Was that on purpose? And how much of a role, because didn't one of the Steel Drivers help produce the album?
Yeah, Brent Truitt, who's a mandolin player with them, co-produced it with me. He was the engineer for about half the record and kind of co-produced the whole thing with me. I think I let him sequence it. Like, you know, I came up with my own sequence, but he's so good at sequencing that I think I went with his sequence because it was just like, oh, I think I changed one song or something, but it was like, oh, that's kind of perfect, you know? He's got a knack for it, you know, because it's like you don't want every song to just be like up and then down, up, down. Like, you want to be able to have people get into a flow of like the area of the album and stuff.
Well, and that's why I said it seems like it was very well planned, right? And when you listen to it front to back, you can kind of tell that. Early on, you talked about like having all these different musicians that came and showed up. So I know that I hear a dobro on there. Was that Mr. Jerry Douglas?
Sure was.
That's insane. So how, obviously you guys have a relationship. We know in the bluegrass community, like, everybody's connected. Can you talk about how that happened? Because that's, I mean, for me, I'd be like, oh my God, right? Like, the Godfather of dobro.
It's insane. You know, you hear Jerry Douglas on your song, it's just like, pinch me. Yeah, but you know, I guess I got to know Jerry through playing with Golden Highway. You know, he produced both of those albums, and I got to be a little part of Crooked Tree. But you know, we made a whole album with him with the City of Gold album. So, and he would come and sit in with us, like whenever we were at the same festival. I remember he played the Station Inn with us one time, and we played Telluride with him. Like, had some really amazing moments with him on stage, and it's always like surreal to hear that in your in-ears or whatever. So I knew, like, if I could get him on the record, I wanted him. So he wasn't able to make it to the tracking day, so I sent him some of the songs afterwards and he overdubbed on them, and he just created so many magical moments on there.
How long did it take you guys to record the whole thing? Because you said you worked on it all of last year. So did you start and stop? Did you just get a couple songs ready and in the can? Or how did that timeline look?
Yeah, I was kind of writing and recording as I went. I think I did the first session was in April last year, and I'd only written a couple of the songs. And I was like, well, this is a good start. I'll just see how these go. And then the next session was in August. I'd written a few more. I'd written 4 more, so we recorded those. And then the last session was in November, and that was a 2-day session. That kind of finished out the record. But yeah, it was very just like, here we, piecing it together as I went. And then as I had half the record written and recorded, I was kind of like, okay, well, now I kind of know maybe what other types of songs I would want for this record, or I know the direction it's headed, how it's sounding. So it kind of helped inform it. It's just kind of like building the plane as it's taking off. Like I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to make good music and, get it out.
But you're still flying, and you're flying high. And that's cool. How many of these, because you talked about the Wishing Well, how you kind of had that evolution and change. How many of these songs from the new album have you played live?
I think I've played them all live at some point. Yeah, I've been kind of like sneaking them into the sets already, just because it's like my only original music right now, and I'm so excited about it, and I'm like, well, I'm playing live this whole year, like I need to play my own music. Like I can't just be playing covers if I have this stuff. So I've been kind of sneaking them in, not every song, every set or anything, but they've been in there. And it's cool. You know what the really funny thing is like to hear people like before the songs came out, like we would be doing like Johnny Ray or Sticks and Stones, and I would see people singing along by the second chorus, and I'd be like, you haven't heard the song, you don't know the song, but you're singing along. Like that was really encouraging.
But that's where I'm talking about, like, those hooks, they are strong, right? They are really, really strong. And obviously you've got a solid team behind you because you guys have been rolling out the singles, right? And it's getting some of that exposure. Was there one of those songs that you were able to kind of turn into a jam vehicle that you didn't necessarily expect that you would be able to stretch out, that you were kind of able to from that album?
Yeah, well, it's been cool, kind of like live. We've been sort of like, doing different stuff with the songs. End of the Road has really kind of evolved as we've been starting to play it live. That's really turned into like Frank and Grant have been really kind of stretching out on that one and doing some really cool stuff. And yeah, and there's some more songs that I still want to experiment with. Like I feel like Johnny Ray could have the potential with that, like, that vamp, that kind of instrumental hook. I feel like that line could kind of,
you could just run that out for a while and then come back.
Yeah, and that could change. And it has a cool thing where it's in that line, it's kind of in C over C chord, but the song is in F, so you could like have a jam on C, and then somebody else could have another jam on F. It's got, it's nice.
And then bounce back. And then, because, I'm such a terrible person now. All I think about is where the confetti breaks are. So I'm like, you
have ruined me. I do the same thing.
Dude, so Shay and I are idiots, and we sneak confetti cannons into shows that we shouldn't be.
Allegedly.
And so, yes, allegedly. Listen, I'm dead to rights. But so what we do is we wait for those buildups, and then like the feedback, and then right at that break, we'll rip a confetti cannon, and the musicians don't know, but then you guys just get so jacked up and amped that you just like rip into it. And we do it because we have live sessions down here in the basement. So bands will come and play 3 songs, and like we'll ask them like, hey, do you have a decent break that we can rip a cannon on? And it's become our thing. And so we actually have a show coming up on August 7th, and we're selling confetti cannons so that we can cover the room with confetti. We bought 100 of them.
That's amazing. It'll be so interesting to see where different people think the confetti moment is,
Well, and that's exactly, or like Shay's an idiot, and he blasted himself in the face once when he was
yeah. That was I was just getting into it, and I had it. I knew the break I was waiting for, and I had it in my hands like this. And I was just gorilla gripping it, and I just did pow, shot myself straight in the face with it. And I'll never forget getting a text from him, because I think you were watching a live stream.
I was watching the live stream, and all I see is the shiny bald head and then confetti coming up both sides of it. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And he's like, dude, I blasted myself in the face. And I will never let him live that down. It was absolutely beautiful. But it's ruined us now, because all of us were like, oh yeah, right here. This is like what we would do. But there's lots of fun, and that's why I asked, because like all of you are such phenomenal instrumentalists that like it's insane that your lyrics are so good and your originals are so powerful, because you guys as a band, for people that haven't seen you, they need to take the time to go out and check this out. My question, Bronwyn, is, are you guys recording any live shows as well? Because I feel like the album is so beautiful and it's pretty, but I also feel like some of the rawness and some of like the power of your jams, they don't get to hear. So do you put out any live shows that people can go and listen to?
You know, I need to start doing that. I think right now I haven't been traveling with a sound guy, and we need to like multi-track it, and it's just kind of too much to get a venue engineer to do.
But, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
they're pissed off as it is, right? But but that's where I do think that it'll just continue to grow your popularity, right? Because like you're very strong. I love, because making an album, making great music is one thing, and then you have to promote it, right? And you have been such a hustler on social media. And you're always so good at keeping up with trends and doing fun things. How hard is that for you on top of all the other stuff you're dealing with?
It definitely takes a lot of time, you know. Sometimes, it's like kind of always on my mind. I'm like, oh gosh, I need to post, and like, what am I gonna do? Like, some days it's easy, and some days it's like, oh no. Like,
Shay knows. I'm always messaging him. I'm yelling. I'm like, buddy, we got to make a video. We got to do this. And 2 years ago, he'd be like, I need a script. I need to know what to do. I'm like, that's not how I work. We're just gonna like do this. And now he's like, all right, on the fly, we're figuring it out. Yeah. But it is a lot of work, and that's where it's amazing. Like, you are consistent and you keep going and you're fresh, right? Because I think that's what's hard, is like being different, right? Nobody wants to make the same style of content and doing that. And I think that you've done a really good job of that on your socials.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I try.
Well, and I also feel like it gets people to know you, right? Because like Shay said, you're like so sweet and genuine, and that's exactly how you come off, right? But then I think, and that's why I want these live shows, I think people underestimate the power that you bring. Like even like your Fish cover of Axilla, like you are this tiny little petite thing, but you can belt out and saw that fiddle in half. And like, it is super powerful and fun to see. Has stage presence always been like a strength of you, or is that something that you had to kind of build up to?
I feel like that's something I kind of started developing in the Golden Highway era. I think before that, I don't know if I'd ever been in a situation where everyone felt really like loose and comfortable on stage in that same way. And, you know, I think it's kind of sometimes it's a group dynamic. Like you can't be sometimes it's hard to be the only person who's really like bringing it on stage. But in Golden Highway, I felt like everyone was kind of egging each other on in sort of a fun way. Like, you know, everyone's just like getting into it, just kind of being silly with it and like having fun. And we would be in these situations. I remember we went to and we played at the Grammys at the Spotify party, and we saw this band. I don't have to say their name, Manskin, but they're this Italian rock band, and they're so cool. They have amazing stage presence. They're just like running around the stage being crazy, and we were so inspired by them. You know, we kind of like started trying to like, you know, copy some of their moves or whatever, and just to kind of be just not take it seriously and just be funny and goofy. And I feel like people kind of relate to that, and it's just nice to not take yourself so seriously on stage and just like have a good time. And if you're having a good time, everyone else is going to have a good time, you know?
For sure, but I think that doesn't come naturally, because I think especially in like the music industry, and I guess in life in general, right? People feel like they have to conform to like an identity or what they should be. And Shay knows, like, I'm a 0 F's given, genuine to a fault kind of guy. But I think that being authentic is so much more important, because you can't recreate it, right? Like I am me, and that's what's cool about you. It's like, and I've met you multiple times, like you are who you're putting out. You are who you are on stage.
The audience will always resonate with that too.
That's good. Like, yeah, I'm glad you feel like I'm the same person.
Yeah, you could always tell when you go to a show, like, to me, a lot of times it comes across in the banter between songs. If someone doesn't come off as genuine, I'm like, you've rehearsed that joke before. You know what I mean? Like, like it's a little too on point, but which to me is a little off-putting. So I love the little more messy, more genuine aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there, so for this album, as it's coming out shortly, right? Is there one song that you really resonate with, or that you think fans are going to resonate with?
Oh man, Gosh, I like so many of them, and it's funny to hear. Even like, I've sent the album to people, for press and stuff like you, and it's cool to hear because it feels like everyone has a different like song that they
Yeah.
resonate with and want to talk about, and it's like I really resonate with all of them, I guess, because I wrote them, but like I love Sticks and Stones. Like I just love the kind of like not giving a shit energy on that. It's kind of like just.
It's powerful. It's
kind of
super powerful.
Feeling.
Who did you write that one with, Bronwyn?
I wrote that was one of the ones I wrote with Pat McLaughlin. I wrote about close to half the album with him, and he's like such a legend. Used to write with John Prine and stuff, so he's just a really cool person to get to know and collaborate with. And that was one, like, some of those lines started coming to me on the bus during Golden Highway. Just kind of like like high and just like lying in the bunk in the middle of the night on this windy ass road and like couldn't sleep and like just started thinking like Sticks and Stones, Rattling Bones, but it just sort of turned into more just like kind of a badass traveling song, and I definitely like
and that's what's beautiful, because the album is called Rattling Bones, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty badass. Who did the album art?
Keith Brogdon. I found his name because he did Sturgill Simpson's Metamodern Sounds album art. And
because I love it. It's like, it is powerful. And so did you know that you were going to become like the female bluegrass prince before you did this? Did we know that we were just going to be Bronwyn? Was that already in the books? How was that figured out?
Yeah, I have been kind of like plotting that for a little while. It's just like, people have struggled with my name kind of my whole life, and like for a long time I could kind of brush it off as like, it's not a big deal, it's like if they know my name they'll learn it or whatever. But like, it started getting to a point, and I was thinking, like, as I'm starting to try to have a solo career, and I'd meet someone in an airport and they'd be like, oh, how do I find your music? Like, I want to check you out. And I'd tell them my whole name, and they would just like, I just see the panic in their eyes. Like, it's a weird first name and a hyphenated last name. And they were just like, they'd like be at their phone ready to type something, and they just didn't even know how to start typing my name. They're like, is that 5 names or 1 or like, and I was like, and I don't blame them. It's, if you've never heard something, how is it going to stick in your head, So I was just trying to think of a way to like simplify it and make it just easier for people to remember to say and tell their friends, So.
Well, and then this album art is really going to help them, like, here it comes, right? Because it's big old letters, and I thought that it was really pretty, and like I said, it feels like such a personal album, right? And I feel like you put so much of yourself into it, but I also feel like there's a lot of great third person stories where you said like somebody can inject themselves into like Virginia Gal or things like that. What comes next? The album comes out. You've already been touring like a mad woman. My guess is that just continues, right?
Yeah, that definitely is going to continue. I'm going to keep writing. I've kind of gone out of writing mode recently because I've been in like touring and album putting out mode, but I'd like to get back in. I'm hoping to put out kind of some extra songs in the fall. There was at least one that didn't make it on the record, just literally for space reasons. And I'd like to record a few more with the band maybe, and maybe put out an extended edition in the fall if I can get it together. And and just I think your idea about starting to record sets and putting them out there is a great idea. So I be trying to start doing.
I'm just telling you, we're all junkies, right? And we'll chase more. And obviously what people need to do now before August 14th is go and pre-save the album wherever you stream it.
It really helps.
It helps.
I'm gonna do that right now while I'm thinking about it.
A ton. And we'll make sure to put all those links. But also, where can they stay up to date on all things Bronwyn?
Oh, my website, Bronwynfiddle.com is good, but also my social media, follow me on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, it's all on there as well. So. Well,
I can't thank you enough for taking the time, Bronwyn. I really appreciate it. I am stoked for everybody to hear this album. And make sure that you're telling venues that you want them to come, or go tell Bronwyn you want her to come to your city, because if you guys can get people to show up, this is part of the grind. We're no longer on the bus doing national tours. Bronwyn is driving this band in the van, and they need you guys to show up and buy their merch, support it, buy their albums. Thank you, Bronwyn, for taking the time. I'm really excited to chat with you after it comes out.
Oh man, thank you guys so much for the kind words and the thoughtful questions and just being a good hang. You guys are always,
much appreciated.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Boom.